And welcome back. We're back to Hearts of Iron 4 tutorial. We're going to talk about naval and naval orders. So we're currently on the F1 screen, so we'll hit F2 to go to the naval screen, and you can see all the supply orders that are going around that are navally supplied. It shows you that because obviously if you need to have your fleets doing convoy missions, convoy escorts, you can go ahead and tell them I want to watch them in these zones, and that way you can tell that, oh well, we're flying through this one and this one and this one, so we'll want to guard those particular sea zones to make sure our supplies get through. Now on this one, it works kind of the same as the generals, where you have these admirals. Now the only difference is there's no sort of field marshal for admirals. Each one is got a number of task forces underneath it. So this is one fleet, this is one fleet, this is one fleet, this is one fleet. So there's a bunch of little fleets that exist, and you can select the individual ones and they'll highlight wherever they are. So when I pick these ones, it's only picking the fleet, but it's not actually picking the individual task forces in that fleet. So for this one, this is Commando Naval Ionio Ibaso Ad something or other. And it's got 2 battleships, 4 cruisers, 6 light cruisers, 28 destroyers, and 4 submarines. And it's broken into 2 task forces. There's a submarine task force, which has all of the 4 subs, and then there's the rest of the ships that are in the main Squadron Naval 1, right? And if I want to select it, I can do that, and then it shows me where they are. And if I go back, I can select this, and it shows me it's these ones. If I wanted to select them together, I can do that as well. If I want to rebase them somewhere, I can go ahead and select another base and right-click it, and an order will be given that they will then travel, and they'll rebase to that base. And it'll say, moving to Naval Base Zera. Now, just like on the other one, you can, with this, the admiral selected, you can right-click. Actually, no, you can't. If you want to cancel the order for them, you hit this hold button, and their order goes away. It's a little bit different than the other one is. If I was to go and give them that order to move there again, I can go ahead and go hold to cancel that order. I can give them an order to patrol, but then it'll say no assigned regions, so then it'll say, okay, I want to patrol the coast. And it then will give these regions, and currently they're red because they haven't left the port yet, but what'll happen is they'll sort of move around and they'll sail between these zones, and they'll suddenly start giving it their presence, so their naval presence will be there. Now typically you don't want to do this with your big fleet. You can if you want, but usually you're going to break off some destroyers or something, maybe with a couple cruisers, to actually do the patrolling, and then you'll have a sort of a strike force fleet that sits back and waits for your patrol ships to engage something. So when they find something, you can actually have a group set on the strike force mission instead. So they'll sit in the port, and when something is found, they'll leave the port and go and intercept it, specifically with the purpose of taking out the enemy that has been found. So that's what that mission is. There's convoy raiding. If you want to go and raid the enemy convoys that pass through your territories, you can do that. They'll sort of go into those areas. Convoy escort, if you want to escort the ones in these regions, you can do that. If you want them to lay some mines, they can do that. You can turn off certain missions. Strangely, laying mines only goes with that one. And there's naval invasion support as a mission, so if you want, you've got a mission from your army, you've got a naval invasion plan, you can set them up to support it. So that's basically how that works. Now if you want, you can select a particular task force within this fleet. So the fleet's got 44 ships altogether, and as we mentioned, all the surface group is together as one task force, and the submarines are in another one. And you can see that right here. There's the 40 who are together on the surface. I guess their ships are all like this, RN, Keoduio, ARN, and it shows you early heavy ship dull hull, and Andrea is the class of type of ship that it is. And then these are early cruiser hulls with the Zara class ship and the San Giorgio and the Giussano class and the Taranto class, and they're cruisers, and there's some destroyers, a bunch of different Navigatori and Curatone class. You'll notice that some of these will show the icon of the group. Sometimes they'll have this, and what this is this means that this ship is an older version. It's an older, out-of-date version of the destroyer, and you may want to upgrade it to a bit different version. So if you click this, it'll bring up this page and say, hey, do you want to convert it to the Mistrali class? Because the Mistrali class is a better version. Or you could upgrade it to the Navigatori class if you wanted as well, which is also some of these ones in there, but it's also out of date. The current version that we're doing is Mistrali classes, so we could upgrade it from this to that. However, it'll take it out, it'll go to port, and it'll get worked on by the shipyards, which will then mean your shipyards can't be used for other things. But essentially it's a way to go and upgrade some of your ships to better versions. And you'll notice you've got some Mistrali class destroyers at the end of the list. So it tells what they're doing. They're moving to that assigned fleet area. It's because they've got a mission currently assigned to do convoy escort. I'm going to turn off convoy escort, and I'm actually going to put them on hold, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to remove all the regions that they have, which was those 3 that I clicked, and it's now cleared them all out. So just something to do with that. If you want to create a new task force from this group, you can. It goes ahead and will take the selected ship, and it'll put them in their own little group. So now I've got this one ship by itself, this Curatone class. Now if I want, I can put it back in by just right-clicking, and it'll merge back into the 40. I can select, a bunch of these ships like this. And I can just right-click. You don't even have to click this button over here. You can just right-click, and suddenly I have a group of 13. And that group of 40 dropped, so now it's 27, and I still have the group of 4. Now they're both selected, but I can just select one group. Like I can select this group of 13, or I can select the other one, or I can hold down Shift and I can select them both, or I could select this one to select none of them. And I think you can bring it back. If I want to merge them back in, I can just right-click. If I want to merge the subs into that one, I can do that as well. If I want to break it into split the select task force in half, I can do that. And now I've got 2 sub task force of 2 units each, 2 subs each. So I can merge them back into one. Now they're back in 4. Before, when we were doing production, under the production tab, when we get down here and it allows us to choose, you can choose which group it wants to go into. If you don't choose a place for them and you leave it on auto, what ends up happening is they don't get assigned to a fleet, and they go into this reserve fleet at the end, and they'll just sit in here until you go and assign them. So you can click this group over here, and if there were any ships in here, which there aren't currently, but let's do this. Let's go in and we'll select this one, and we'll select this last little ship down here. We'll select these 2, the Giacomo Medici and Nicola Fabrizi, and we'll send them, split the selected ships into a reserve fleet. So they basically go back into the reserves, and now they're in a reserve fleet over here. Now if I want, I can just select one, and I can go and right click, and it'll be added to that group as a single ship. And I can go and grab the other one and right click over here, and it's been added. I can then right click onto this one to merge those 2 together, and you'll notice this guy is now in there, and I can select him and hold down Shift. Where is it? This guy, and just merge him back into this one. So they're reinforcing with the Elite Task Force 2, and they're moving to merge. So I can give them that hold order, take this guy, move him into there, and now this 39. One of these guys is currently detached. He's not with the group at the moment, but he's going to move there. Now because he's in the port, he's just going to move in. If I actually hit the space bar, he'll pretty much join right away because he's in the same port. But that happens sometimes where they'll just break off and do that. But you also have the same exercises button where you can increase their skill, so you can bring and improve their level of experience. So instead of trained, they can get up to regular. Some of them are fresh out, new builds that are still fresh. Now we can also, the same way we did with the Army, when you've got essentially a fleet selected, you can assign them a particular admiral, and they have different skills just like generals do. They've got their own, and this one's got some free traits available, so we could select Lone Wolf or Concealment Expert or Minesweeper or Mine Layer, and you can tailor them and give them different orders if you want that. It's different things you can do. I'm not going to go too much into this because there's a little bit involved with fleets, but primarily you're just going to group them together, send them somewhere to fight, or run certain missions, escorting or sending your subgroups. You're going to go convoy rating, so we'll take this subgroup, give them a convoy rating, and we'll go over here and set them off the coast, and they will sail there from their base over here if they can. If we don't like them doing that, we can actually rebase them over to this place. So now they're moving to this Eritrea, and they'll work from there as part of that fleet. I can also just cancel all their orders and remove all the regions, and lo and behold, they're back where they were, still the same orders that they had, free and clear. So if we want to merge different fleets together, so let's say I want to take these 33 ships, put them together with these 44, I can do that. I just select this one, right click over top of the other one, or sorry, I have to select the individual groups, so hold shift and shift. So I've got these task force selected, and then right click, and now they've been added to that one, and that other fleet is gone. And I can do the same thing with this third group, and right click, and gone. Now all of these task forces are together in here, so I can take this one and merge it with that one, and put that sub and merge it with that one. So now I have a subgroup of 4 currently listed, but if you'll notice, there's a bunch of other subs that are moving to join it. And the same thing with these, I can right click and put them all in with the 40. Now there's 93 ships in here, but these other ships there in these other locations are now going to sail over to the new base because they're now part of this one. And if we do that, you'll suddenly see them move. They suddenly are taken off, and they're going to cruise over and move down to here where their new base is. The same with these ones that are over here. They're going to do the same thing and go and join them. And the subs too, because I basically took the units that were in that group and this group, and they're all rebasing to this location down here. And I'll speed it up so that it gets there quicker. Boom, 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 boom. And now they're all together, and if we look, we've got 93 ships, 69 in one group, 24 subs in another group. And we can do the same thing. You can merge them together, break them apart. It's just a matter of making sure you've got the right ship selected when you're giving them the mission and giving them the zones that they're going to work from. Typically, you're going to want to have enough. If you select too many sea zones for ships, they'll have to sort of sail back and forth amongst them. So it sometimes matters for the ranges of your ships. So you can look at a sub, click to view its details, and you can look and go, oh, it's got a 4,000 range. So it can get pretty much anywhere. And this one here, 4,000 range. But I mean, if you look at some of the models, some of the older subs, Like if I go look at these early subs, they only have 2,500 kilometer range, so they can't go near as far. All right. But that's basically the gist of the naval orders. The only other thing is that you'll notice that when we're in the naval section, there's certain things that have these little connection lines here and here. There's one over here. There's one up here and one here. There's also the Panama Canal down over here. And if you just, put your mouse over it, it'll tell you, armies can pass, no. Navies can pass, no. Submarines can pass, no. Trade can pass, yes. And that's telling us that that's our permission because we're neutral. If it was contested, nothing could go through. If we were the enemy, nothing could go through. If we're friends, they'll let everybody go through. So if we were friends with the US, they would let all of our armies and ships and things sail through that port or through that canal with no problem. Otherwise, we have to go the long way around. And then there's some like, Gibraltar, where if you're neutral, it'll let you go through. If it's contested, submarines can still sneak through. So subs can get through here regardless. But other ships, if you're at war with them or if the territories are contested, then it will go ahead and actually have an effect of basically saying, no, some of your stuff can't go through there. So like once you're at war with England, you can't expect your fleets to pass this point anymore. That just won't let you. They've got, unless you take these sides, take both sides away from them, and then of course it would be friendly, so then you could then allow your troops to go through. So, and the same thing, you can expect to be cut off once you go to war with England, because once it's enemy, it's all no, 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 and they won't let anything go through there. So all of your trade and convoys and things will all have to try and go out and around the other way, which they won't be able to. So you're going to have a trouble trying to get any sort of supply to this group. So that's, just some things to be aware of. These are the port icons. This is where all your ports are. These ones with the circles just mean that there's fleets currently based at them, and there isn't at these other ones. There's enemy ports, and enemy ports with fleets based at them. But that's enough for this video, and thanks for being.